Hello and welcome back. Today I want to talk about something very important, alright? Today I want to talk about how you can get hired as a developer without ever stepping foot in a college. I am a self-learning developer. I have been for the past 4 years. Now, I'm in a bad situation. I simply can't go to the areas where the jobs are. I just simply can't do it. And it's a whole bunch of legal issues. But you might be able to. If you're not currently tied down to a specific location where you can up and move. Okay? And now this is very important because I know that there are a lot of developers that are not in the big cities. Mind you, there are a lot of developers that are in the big cities, and those individuals will have a much easier time finding a job. And when I say finding a job, what I really mean is finding a recruiter. You see, in the tech industry, you don't find the jobs find you. Mind you, you can go find the jobs all you want, but the easiest way to get hired is to actually attract them to you, and that's when you know you're doing something right. On average, I receive 1 to 3 calls a month from a recruiter. Actually, I just had to talk to a Python recruiter not too long ago from Miami, and once he found out that I could not move into Miami, the entire conversation was lost. And that's what I mean by sometimes you have to be able to move. I can't move, so most of my work is still freelance. But if I really wanted to, I could probably move and risk a whole lot, maybe fail, maybe succeed. I'm not putting myself in that situation. That's just not me. Now, you on the other hand, it might be perfect for you. So, let's get off of my rambling and talk about how you can get a job. Okay? What did I do to attract recruiters? Well, first of all, I maintained a very good LinkedIn page. Okay? LinkedIn is kind of like your, hey, hello world, I'm here kind of deal, right? So imagine, if you will, you are walking about in regular society and you have your resume about you. You just have it on you, alright? Now, eventually somebody's going to find you and want to hire you. That's how LinkedIn works. But at the same time, you also have to be outreaching. For instance, I have a YouTube channel, you're watching it, where I create videos about development and I share them amongst you guys. Now, you could do the very same thing as I'm doing, but another way to do it is to get high on HackerRank. In order to get hired by the tech recruiters, you have to be in the spots where they look. The first thing that they look at is the LinkedIn job market. So essentially they put in a title, right? They put in Python developer, and they start going through the list of developers that they're looking for. They use a whole bunch of search keywords in order to narrow it down. The second place that they often look for is actually on places like HackerRank and Code Dojo. And if you're significantly high, and I don't mean you have to be up there in the clouds, I mean you have to be within like the top 200 or the top 500, because there's quite a few developers. But so long as you're in the top range and you are a new developer, then they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that you're actually a pretty good developer because you haven't been there long and you're already this high on the chart. So they're going to give you the benefit of the doubt and they're going to look at your profile. Okay, and then the third place, of course, is GitHub. And the fourth place is Stack Overflow, but there's a lot of problems with Stack Overflow. I have actually been kicked from Stack Overflow. I can no longer ask questions on Stack Overflow, and it's a long story as to why. But to be honest, I only ever got one answer from that website. From my own questions. Most of the time, most of the material that I get from that website simply doesn't work, you know? So I've had to push on and just do it by myself. But we're developers like that. We're self-learning developers. We're very stubborn. We're very stubborn people. LinkedIn profile with all your, by the way, keep in mind you need to do projects, lots and lots of projects. Okay, like if you look at my projects here, you'll notice I have my novel speed writing application, which is actually my very first Android application, and then I have my Chinese medicinal application, which is my second Android application, and that's actually not on the market, and it's working with a different client. But I also have almost all of my projects here, and it shows that I know that it's important to back up my stuff, because something that you'll hear from other developers is that you shouldn't use GitHub unless the work you're doing is important. But in reality, it's a trick of the phrase. What you're doing should be important for you to be doing it. It's a trick of the phrase that it actually took me quite a while to figure out. If you're using GitHub to back this stuff up, what you should be doing should be important to you. And that's what they meant by that. If it's not important to you and you're not putting it up on GitHub, then why are you doing it? That's the whole point. You need to work on code that you want to work on, that you find important. All right? Now, something that you probably have been told multiple times is that you need to create a project. You need to start doing projects. And that is true. You do need to start doing projects. But you also need to start hosting them. And you need to start reaching out to other developers to talk about your own application. Because believe it or not, what happens is you start talking to other developers, and those developers talk to their friends, and those developers talk to their friends, and eventually it goes down the grapevine, and one or two recruiters find you that way. Now, beyond this, it's pretty much just a waiting game and applying to where you can, right? So what I mean by that is once you have your GitHub all set up and you're working on coding projects every once in a while, and once you have a LinkedIn profile and you're working on improving that constantly and putting up your projects that you worked with other people, that's very important that you start working with other developers to create certain projects. Once you have this stuff, and you start getting acquainted with the development environment in terms of its social facets, you just find the jobs that you think that you can apply to and apply to them, and then you wait. That's pretty much it. Now, one thing that you should put on your LinkedIn profile is looking for new opportunities, right? And what that is basically telling the recruiter is, hey, I'm up for a job. That's basically what that means. The reason why you want to put that on there is because they won't contact you if you look like you're in the middle of a very important job. They'll wait until an appropriate time, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to catch you at a time where you will take their lure, so to speak. And so, in other words, you just don't you won't hear from them unless you visually point out, hey, you know what, I may be doing this, but I'm always looking for work, right? So now I actually made a mathematics video. You can go ahead and look at the right hand side and find that. You can go ahead and look down in the description and find that. And it'll explain to you what type of mathematics that you need for your everyday web development. But just to be clear, you shouldn't be looking at it as, I don't want to learn math, because programming is math. It's just it's a more comfortable way of saying math. Believe it or not, I actually am advocating for schools to start combining computer science with mathematics, because once you learn one, the other one makes sense too. So the more you learn of each subject, the more they tie in hand to hand. And it really, to me, it doesn't make sense to learn mathematics if you're not going to also learn how to use a computer. Because a computer is mostly text and mathematics. So, but yeah, that's pretty much how you get a job as a developer without having to ever step into any college. Is simply start doing your own projects, having fun with it, and contacting new people, and make it obvious that you are looking for a new job, and applying whenever you can. Now, some of you may come here, and I don't want to assume anything, so I need to state this out. Some of you are probably coming to this video and thinking, well, I looked at the job applications and they want way too much. That's because the tech person wasn't the one who put that up there. It's the HR person. If you've ever had to explain your code to a non-code person, you will suddenly get the oh feeling once you realize that the HR department has no idea what the tech guy means by he needs somebody that knows jQuery and Ajax. So he just puts everything on a nice big list and hopes somebody clicks on it. And then they filter through what they actually need once the applicants are through. That's usually what happens. I mean, I've seen applications where you need to know how to develop on Android and on the iOS, and I find that absolutely hilarious because you simply can't memorize that much. There's no way in hell you are memorizing all the ins and outs of both of the phones. There's just simply too much between the two libraries. So trust me, what you're basically saying when you go, oh, there's no way I can fill that. That's way too much. Normally, unless it's like all front end and back end. Unless it's like a very specific set of skills, like you need to know Jade or this and this or this, then that is a person who actually knows about the languages that they're hiring, and you are likely dealing with a person that, you know, knows what they're looking for. But if you see like you need to know Python and C#, and then a framework and another framework, and you need to know some of this front end and some of this back end and some of this data security and some of the, it's just this long list of stuff. And you see junior web developer at the top. That person has no idea what they're looking for. And they're basically looking for a unicorn. And you'll hear that a lot once you start working with more experienced web developers, is that those people are looking for unicorns, and you just apply to them and hope that you get a reaction. If not, then it's really no loss, because you went ahead and applied. What were they going to do? Say no anyway? So, and the funny thing is, I'm a little bit more reserved. I like to judge whether the person actually knows what they're looking for or not. A lot of developers that I know just go, no, when I need a job, I just spam my resume out and hope it hits somebody that needs me. That's usually how this thing works. But most of the time, as a junior web developer, recruiters are looking all over the place to find you. And if you're willing to move to a different city for a job application, you can usually get hired within probably the first 2 years that you start developing, but you have to be really into it. That's the thing. I've been doing this for 4 years, but at the same time, I mean, I learned Android, I learned Ruby on Rails, I'm learning React, and I'm developing these projects, and I'm putting them up on CodePen, on YouTube, on Android, you know. I mean, if we go to my profile, we'll see that this is still my number one thing, and I'm still showing it. And then I've got a bouncing ball, and then I got some random stuff, and I do all of my CodePen projects, all the projects that I just want to up and do, I do on here. But I also have some serious projects, right? And that's where I put them up on here. And that's the thing, is you gotta reach out. You gotta say, hey, I want you to see my code. I want you to recognize me, see me, notice me, senpai. Things like that, you know? So basically, work on coding. Please improve your math skills, because you're gonna need some good sources, Khan Academy, whatnot. I'll link the video, or I have linked the video, and yeah, that's what'll attract them. So long as you have a GitHub and a CodePen and a LinkedIn. I haven't really found Twitter to be of much use, although I'm told by many developers that I should be using it. Right now, I'm just using it to share my YouTube videos. But yeah, I mean, I get a recruiter calling me every month or so, but because of legal issues, I simply can't take up the work. Otherwise, I would. That's it. Yeah, that's it. One day, I'll find a way to end this video smoothly. One day, it'll happen. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that it'll happen. You know?